we are live, but I will give it a couple minutes here for the live stream data to show what we need to hear in just a second. So I'm just waiting for the actual start time. I usually try and start it on the button, so I just start the stream a little early, make sure it's not working. I've had a couple bugs with that, so. Okay, we have about 2 minutes till we're starting up. And if you are watching this later, you will see I have the board in. I was debating last video exactly how I can proceed from this point, getting other things done before I actually did the this, and I didn't see a whole lot of options, so the board's got going at this point, so it's in now. We will go from there. So we'll just wait until we get to another couple minutes here, and then we'll get started. I'm actually going to possibly take a second to oddly enough, it's saying my streaming status is just okay, which is kind of weird. Usually it shows it's good. Huh. Seems like the actual streaming is going just fine from my side. But anyway, I'm going to quickly get a copy of this and start people seeing that I'm live. Alrighty. Alright, so hopefully, maybe we've had a person or two join. We're going to hear in just a moment. I've actually got the live stream up. I'm going to post this to a few different Facebook groups to get some people that might be interested to come along. But it looks like I do have somebody that's joined me, so welcome, welcome. Glad to have you along. I'm just going to kind of quickly invite a few people on Facebook to say, hey, I'm live, come along. And then we will get rolling. So how's everybody's weekend starting off? Hopefully it's going well for everyone. Alright, one or two more. Facebook is being super slow today. There's one more here. Alright. That will be good enough for me. So, hope everybody is enjoying themselves this weekend. I am going to, as you can see, I took the time now to put the board in. I kept last video of hemming and hawing, trying to decide exactly where I needed to put things or how I needed to put things or whatnot, and I finally decided, you know what, this is going to go best now if I just have the board in. So I'm going to go ahead and start going through connecting things from the board up. So we'll kind of figure that out together, I think. But the bigger things here that you can see now is I've got the board in place. One of the other problems I've been having, if you remember, I drilled a hole. If you saw the previous videos, and this may be a lot of spaghetti wires, and it's going to be hard to see. But I want you to be able to see right. I'm going to just put heavy light down here. And I'm going to use something to point it out so it's visible through all of this tangled web of wires. It will be a lot less messy later. Right down here is my grounding point. That grounding point was touchless input jack, and I didn't like that, but I just made sure that the grounding lugs of it were the ones down touching it, because they just had to ground anyway. But I decided it would be better once I had this mounted that I could also move this in a little bit more. So I've moved it in more, given myself a second ground, because there's a couple of grounding points off of this that have to ground to it. So that's where we're at with that. All right, so I have to, oh yeah, I gotta turn off the live stream. We'll start in a few minutes, because we're in a live. All right, so, all right, so first order of business is really going to be to kind of just start connecting wires where they belong. So first thing, I will just start the left side of the board. We're going to kind of come down, and if you look, I'll bring my mouse up and kind of point to the spot. This mouse is kind of half going dead. I'm going to have to get some batteries for that later. But so if you come look, you probably can see my mouse. I'm going to connect, just start from this wire, and I'm going to reach it up, and you can see this blue wire comes over and connects to the middle of the mid pot. And I will just kind of keep working my way across. We'll next go to the yellow one after that, and that's going to come in connected. And it won't necessarily solder them per se, if I think other things have to be there. But for this case, the mid pot has nothing else connected to it that I can see. I will double check the schematic because the layout is a little blurry. Let's look at that. Right here. All right, so the mid pot. Where is the mid pot? It's right here. So the top is just not connected. All right, so yeah, we're going to come in from the 0.5, like I said, come in and connect to the middle of the mid pot. So we'll go ahead and do that next. Let me go ahead and swap that back so you can see that. Okay. And that is this purple wire right here. That mid pot this is volume treble bass, or treble mid right here. So it's going to connect in there. So I will attempt to kind of neatly run this in a way that is not too ugly. Alright, so that's going to come up. I'll just come up and bring it up underneath the bus bar instead of from top of the bus bar. It's always fun. I remember one of the trickiest parts when you're doing this is that what am I thinking of? Sorry, I'm trying to get the good physical connection on this guy and pinch it down. All right, so let me solder that in. All these wires in the way at front are a little annoying, but as you go, things start getting cleaner and cleaner, and it becomes less of a problem. But like right now, I want to solder, and I've got a bunch of wires in the way. So, turn my fan on so I don't choke myself. And so you'll have to have a little noise, guys. Sorry about that. I always apologize, but it is what it is. Trying to avoid all these other wires. There we go. That one's done. I will neaten that up a little bit. What I'm going to do is probably try and bring it more across under here, but I just wanted to get the connection done. So next will be this guy, which I believe goes to the bottom of the jazz rock switch. And there's also 270K resistor between that and the deep switch. And those are these two over here. Let me just double check. I pulled out some of the resistors ahead of time. Let me grab my multimeter and double check my resistance of these guys. Which one is my 270K? That's 100K. I think this was essentially it. I didn't have... Okay, that's 2.7K, isn't it? 4.7, right, see. Probably 1.5K. I have some of this stuff here. Hold on, let me look around. Where'd I put it? I must have picked these up and cleaned it and moved some of this stuff. So I need my 270K resistor. I know those before. forest stuff I found. Sorry guys. I had these all set up before, but I was trying to arrange things. I must have not. Well, I will worry about that in a minute, I guess. I'll just run the line. Alright, so I will go ahead, since it's taking time for that to cool, we'll quickly snip that lead. And I will lower it down below and out of the way. Alright. Next will be, so I need to run these other resistors as I mentioned, but for now I will just run this one over the bottom. Oh boy, that's going to be fun for me to do. You guys can probably see what I'm doing, but from my side it's going to be actually quite hard to see. It looks like this is exactly the length I need pretty much too, but I lucked out that I didn't make that too short. Alright. And I may block you guys' view for a minute doing this, but I'm losing this battle because I can't see very well. Sorry. We'll be seeing what you're seeing me is attempting. There we go. Got it. All right. So it's connected to that bottom one. All right. So that was me connecting this one. That's the yellow line over to the input side of that jazz switch. Next up is this 330 picofarad purple one that comes over and connects into the top of the treble. Oh, and I have this one missing for some reason. I think that was because I was debating over the 300 or 330. I might have ordered that as a ceramic as well now that's on the way. So I guess I will leave that one alone short term. There's no wire coming off of it. I have a 330 on the way that's coming. If you remember, I discussed the ceramics and decided to go ceramics for several. So that should be here. So we'll fix that in a bit. We'll leave that loose for now. The next one over is going to be a grounding wire, which is this one. And that is just going to come over and connect to this grounding point right here. So it doesn't have to go very far. We'll go ahead and get that. I might actually run it through here. So I hope everybody's having too much fun. You didn't get a notification? Yes, I'm sorry, Phenom. One of the other things I think I remember watching on a YouTube video was that somebody said they had found that some of their subscribers are would have a problem where if they had that problem, that the suggestion from the YouTube people was to basically unsubscribe, then resubscribe, and then add that little bell while you're subscribing, and that should give you all notifications. I don't know for sure if that's a fix, but it's something I kind of checked into as well because I'd heard you said you weren't getting notifications. So, alrighty. Gotta kind of these out the way for a minute. Connect this to a ground. Gotta get the right hangulation here. Not working. ground is that I will solder it later once I'm sure I have all the connections in the corner there. Alright, next. So then we want to go, for the grounding wire, we have a blue wire from that 005, which in my case is purple, that goes, looks like if I'm seeing that right, that goes to the last connection of the close side of the relay that is for drive. Is that looking right? Well, wait, the drive one? Okay, cool. So I've got to look at the schematic from it because this blue one looks like it goes into the part of what I said, if you remember, is that the way I've done these relays is a little different than what's there on the Dumbles. They kind of only connected a few of the things that they needed, but I have to kind of cautiously make sure I'm connecting the right ones. It looks like the side that's towards the bottom on this image, on the topmost one, which would be the, in this case, I will point with this little guy, is basically going to be this one or this one. I have to choose which, although I think I put the 22 meg in this one, so it will be this one, and this is going to be my drive, whereas this will be my preamp boost, so it's going to go to the drive one. So really this guy just has to go from there to there. So we'll cut that a little bit. Strip the lead. And then I'm going to try and carefully see if I can find a way to get this up to the bottom side. I don't know if this will work, but we shall see. It works. There we go. All right. So I'm trying to look. I think that might be the one that connects into that spot, so I could solder that in as well, but I'm going to double check. Oh, but it does actually jumper over to the other pin from the middle of the other side. Oh, that's what I was afraid would happen with this guy. I might have to, you know what I could possibly do is, so I just pulled one of the wires off on accident that I had, and it goes over to this switch that I had to kind of fight a minute ago. But I'm going to run it underneath here, so that works a little bit better for me. Yeah, that will work better. I'll have to kind of play with that when I go to solder it later, when I get that resistor that I'm not finding right now. Alright, so what I want to do now is jump from there over to here, all the while making sure the other one has accessibility from the other side. So I could do that on the bottom of the board. In fact, that kind of makes sense. So what I might try and do here would be first bring in the, well, yeah, I'm thinking it out loud, sorry. I basically want to kind of come across here. Let's try and see if I can work some magic. Alright. So, you know what, I think the more I think about this, I want to jumper this. It's going to be easier to jumper it from the bottom. So we're going to just quickly undo this with my screwdriver. I'm going to pull this out temporarily, since it's easy for me to put it back on again, so I can jumper from the bottom. And this is one of those things that I wouldn't have known ahead of time. I think I might have talked about how I was a bit concerned about connecting it too soon would make it hard to deal with it, but you only learn these things as you try. I also have it soldered to power, which means that it's kind of going to What in the world? Do I need to actually screw it out because I've got some minor threading action happening with the screws? I might. I am. That's funny. So I drilled the hole close enough that these are actually creating traction in the hole. Alright, there we go. So, what I need to do here is quickly just invert this, and I should probably look at it since I'm already going to be wiring this guy while I'm at it, and make sure any other jumpers that need to happen underneath are done. So we'll look, I'm going to kind of zoom in a bit here so you guys see what I'm talking about as well. Where's my zoom button? So basically, right now I'm jumpering between these two, which is from the end of this guy, which is the one that I just showed you connecting to, up to the middle of the other one. And then the rest of those don't look like there's jumpering. It does like on this one up here when we go to that one. Oh no, that's not jumpering either. So yeah, so the only jumper we have really is this one. And what that does, I think, is that when you're doing this, the drive switching, you're either routing through A or B, and that middle jumper kind of crosses you through and routes directly through on the case where you're setting up a certain way. So, and we could probably look at the schematic about that to kind of discuss it if people are curious. But all right, so next is lifting that guy up enough that I can carefully run a short wire under the bottom. This is where fat fingers don't work well. So just snip it about here. What I might actually do, now that I have that there, is just to solder that connection that you can see so that it won't move on me, and then I can kind of clean the lead and do that part. So, I'll do that next. And again, the joy of having too many wires in the way. There we go. Looks like that worked. Let that kind of harden up. So by the way, Phenom1 has been giving me a lot of great suggestions. I'm going to be starting to try and incorporate more of those. I did try and get up some affiliate links so that people could kind of look into things that I'm doing and what I've got, and so far I had no luck. But one of the ones I do think I'll do is Amazon allows affiliation, and I will do that because a lot of tools you see me using, I've got a nice Fluke 117, which wasn't too expensive. I've got a Rigol. Any of the things you've seen me buy, most of those have come from Amazon because it's close and convenient for me and easy because I actually live where Amazon's based out of in the Pacific Northwest. But there are also other companies out there that I buy from regularly too, and I'm going to try and see if I can get affiliates with those. So that's hopefully coming. Alright, that should be done. So now what I can do is give myself a and this is one of the things you have to be careful of with when you're jumpering anything, is that you don't want to bear too much wire, because if you bear too much wire, you end up being it available for it to accidentally contact things it shouldn't be contacting, you know, so it can short something. So, if you can see that now, I've got a, oh, my hand's blocking. I've got a jumper wire across that point, and I can kind of solder it from the bottom side if I wanted to, really. But I'll flip it back over, and that will jump that, and then we can kind of reset this, because I think that's the only jumper I need on that, through there. So. See how that filled the hole. Let that harden. Alright, making progress. So I'm going to zoom this back out while we're letting that harden, because we want to be able to see what we're doing there a little bit better. All right. I'm going to go ahead and snip the excess leads off now, and then re-put this guy back down where it belongs. Alrighty. Where'd my little spacers go? There they are. These came with the Doug Hoffman's relay boards. They're just little nylon spacers, and they do the job quite well. That's there. We'll start it so that it can't slide, and then we'll get the second one. Same thing there. And that relay is connected correctly. I'll go ahead and put that back down now. Where to put the screwdriver? There it is. So this is going to be my first time ever building an amp with relays, so I'm actually pretty excited to see how it turns out. If it turns out well, my next project I'm planning on using relays as well will hopefully have more success, because I've experimented first on this known build, and then I will be adding my own complexity to an unknown build. Alright, tighten back down. Now I can kind of pull that lead down out of the way. Next up is going to be this one here. Comes down off of this. Comes down off of the pot, 20K. I think that comes over to the bottom side. So that is going to connect right over here. So we need to get that, which will go right there. So we'll first cut ourselves about right there. We will strip back a little bit. And then we'll fight the battle of trying to bring it up underneath again. No, I did the right thing. I didn't bend it far enough. Alright, we will solder that in. There we go. Let that cool. Next up will be so these two are coming off of the I think it's the, it doesn't show it very clearly here, but he uses the clean, so I'm going to kind of move over, I believe so this is one of the things that kind of confuses me. If you look here, and I remember this on the layout was confusing before, we have two of the well shielded wires coming off this direction, but they disappear behind this board and then don't reappear anywhere. It just says Vol B drive A here, but I don't know I kind of need to look at the schematic and see if I can figure that out. Let's look at that. So there's a 100. Oh no, I forgot what it was. Let's go back, look again. There's 150K and 100K coming off of a couple of capacitors off of the next stage, basically. Which I think will be we'll look here. I think that's going to be, so there's 150K, and then there's 100K, and I think those are these two right here, right? So basically, this is inside the drive stage, and it connects, shielded connection, connect ground, but the actual inside connection, 100K, connects to the top of the level, and the other one connects to the top of the ratio. So, okay, so that's what those are. It's not super clear, but, well, that's kind of odd, though, because the top, A and B. Ah, I see what they're doing here. So there's B, you see the B here and the A here, and then we also have volume B, drive A here, kind of in red next to it, but that's what these two are coming from. So I need to run from the 100K, it goes to the top of the level pot, which is the first one, and then the ratio is the second one. So I'm going to have to quickly make these, and I'll show you. This is actually something that's a good demo. This is the type of stuff I didn't show in the last one, but I need to make them for this, so we'll go ahead and do it. It's going to run effectively kind of from here over to, this is my level here, I think. Let me double check here. Yeah, so level, ratio, master volume, and presence. So, okay. So it's got to kind of come from here to here. Is that even on your screen? No, it's not. So let me adjust slightly. And then hopefully you can see it's kind of dark there, but by my, oh no, it's still not in frame. Oh, a little more. All right, so let me adjust the exposure a little bit. It's darker over this side. So now I'm going to have to cut this roughly to length here, and then I'm going to have to do some shielding, and we'll show you all of that. So I'm going to give a sense of what kind of range I want with that. I'll go ahead and cut it. Set that aside. So now I've got that roughly to length that I want. Go to 110K. I have myself a little wire stripper. You can buy these kind of things all over the place, but I effectively want to... Oh wait, let me look. You have to kind of look where the blade is. It's generally better to go this way with the blade that way. Alright, so I'm going to put that in like that. It's going to be out of focus a little bit, I'm sorry. But you just have to spin this around, and it cuts through the shielding, and then as you pull it off, it didn't pull off, but I'm trying to get that back in the notch. As you pull it off, you then get all this shielding available, but I'm going to cut it off at one end, which will be this end, because this is just going to be the end that I connect into here with. So I will just cut away all the excess leads there, and then the other end is going to be I'm going to connect into those leads. I'll kind of wind them around, and you kind of probably saw that earlier. I'll connect those leads to the other end. So the first thing I'm going to do now is quickly shrink wrap the end of that. Well, first I want to strip back a teeny bit of this insulation. So that I have a little bit of room out of that. Then I'm going to get a small amount of shrink wrap or shrink tubing around the end of that and shrink that down so that I have that kind of grounding stuff nowhere near where it can ground anything out here. Then the other end will do the same kind of thing, and then I will get a little bit longer so I can get more of that that shielded copper wire, and I will solder that to a little ground jumper. So let's see. Oh, that's the wrong size. What size do I want to use? I got to find out which size. That's too small. Let's go. I think that moved. That belongs back over here. Alright. That looks like the right size. Okay. So I don't need to cut much of this, just enough to cover the end. Set that aside. Alright, so another thing I always keep around is some kind of a torch like this. so that I can Alright, see that? Now I've insulated that away from being able to... Oops, let me get out of that. I've insulated that now from the wire so that it can't be touched. Then I'm going to come back to this other side, and I'm going to do a similar shielding clean out, but a little bit longer back. So you'll see I removed a much larger chunk. I'll set that aside, and now you can see I have, although it looks like it kind of shredded a decent amount, dang it. But as long as I have enough of that to connect into it, I think I'll be good. Alright, so you can see I've pulled this all back. I'm going to wrap this nice and tight, and then what I'll do is I'll get a small ground wire, connect it to it. Oh, actually in this case, because of the proximity, I may actually be able to just easily kind of connect it in, as you can see, like this, to this part, and then wind that wire around the grounding bus at the same time, right next to it. So we'll just do that, I think. So, I should just strip back a little bit of lead. So, first order of business is I'm going to set that guy in, solder it down, and then I will go to the other side, solder it up to that point and whatnot. So, alright. Good, perfect little solder there. Let that harden. And one of the things I've done is I kind of peeled these leads up because I didn't have the ability to get to them until after I did that. But I'm going to now try to do my best to snip that back a little so that it can't easily get to places it shouldn't. Alright, now I'm going to have to kind of move that aside. And this could be the funnest part of it, is when I connect these in, they'll be also fighting the relays that are there as well. But so it's going to be a tight chassis there in some of those areas. And I'm trying to get a good mechanical connection as well. Alright, solder that. Perfect. There we have it. So once that's hardened, I'll be able to kind of wiggle these around and things in when I need to, but it definitely makes it fun. So the last thing I need to do now is, now that I have the I need to wind. I'm kind of fighting tight space now. I have this ground connection that I want to wrap around, but I'm actually thinking it would be better if I wrap it away instead of towards where the connection goes. But see what I'm doing, this is what's called shielding the connection. The shielded wire will receive any news that comes into this wire from the outside world, and it will collect it all straight back to ground. So I should be able to now solder that, because I've wrapped it around several times so it has physical connection. Now I will just need to flow the solder through and make a connection also with the wire itself. Actually, in this case, I might put some flux on. I was being reminded of that last time, but this is the kind of connection where I'm needing as much connectivity that works as I can get. So I gotta get... Alright, I'm seeing some flux go down. So I'm going to wet this really well with flux so that we get a better bond between the wire, the grounding bus wire, and the wire that I'm setting up. I need to clean the tip a little. Because I'm not seeing it bond to the actual wire very well yet. So we'll... Now let me see it go. Ooh, I'm getting a little excess there, which I don't want. Just going to keep heating for a minute to really get a good bond, or at least hopefully. Alright, so what I'll let that do now is cool off, and I will check by touching some of these copper wires with a grounding connection somewhere else and see if we get a good ground. Continuity wise. So I just touch this anywhere in the chassis with this lead, like that, so you can see me touching the chassis, and then I will touch this. I'm going to get very low resistance, so we are perfectly shielding that now. Alright, so now I've got to do the same thing for that guy. And I got to grab my cable back again. Where did I set it? Back here. So we'll repeat that, lather, rinse, and repeat for the other connection, which goes to the, it says volume B, which is actually just the radio, which is going to be, but it goes to the next pot over right here to the top there. So that's going to be a little bit long distance. And I'm going to give myself a little bit more flex room. Hopefully all this is fairly visible and makes sense. Please let me know if you're having a hard time seeing anything, and I'll try and get better at what I'm doing. Snip off the excess of this side. Get a little bit of shrink wrap again. One of the things that's actually surprised me is I keep saying that I'm getting close to being ready, but I keep forgetting there's just so much more complexity to this build that I've never done, that I've not done before, that it keeps kind of surprising me. Oh, I forgot I've got to do this. Oh, I forgot I've got to do that. So please be patient with me on some of this stuff, guys. It'll get there. All right. I kind of got a little too close to the heat there, and I kind of had a... Oh! Ow! Ow, 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 ow! Damn it. I forget this thing doesn't shut off for a few seconds after, I just basically put the torch right at my thumb. Doesn't look like it left anything, but I don't see any blister forming. Man, that'll wake you up. But I was trying to point out that it got heat a little close to this too, but it's still workable. It didn't melt through, it just kind of changed the color of the surface a little bit. First order of business is to get that guy in there, solder it in. Live YouTube injuries. Is that going to get me a few hits? Haha, no. Watch man torch his own finger live on YouTube. Although it probably wasn't on screen. just heard me screaming out in pain. There we go. Put my soda can on that for a minute, cool it off. Alright. So I just gotta let that harden for a second, and then we'll strip the backside off. Actually, I should strip the backside off while it was detached. I'm getting spacey, but that's alright. I know how to do this. There went all of my, Alright, hold on a second. I just made a disaster of my shrink tubing. For the love of all that is holy. I'll be cleaning that mess up for a while. What's that? Aloe vera? Yeah. My wife's watching and saw me burn myself and brought some aloe vera. Thank you. Okay, so here's a lesson on how to use aloe vera. Sorry. So, let's get it to break open. Are you guys having fun? Is this what's the term? Schadenfreude. When you are taking pleasure at someone else's misfortune. There, I've got a little of that on. Let that dry on. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, I was trying to get this to come off, but it doesn't want to. There we go. Alright, so now you should be able to see. I've got that stripped back, and I will get the copper wire down, ground that out. This one goes, is it also the top? It is the top, alright. This one doesn't quite stick out as far, so I'm having fun. And I'm also doing this at an angle where hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. Oh, actually, I need to take a little bit more so you see where I'm connecting over here. There we go. Alright, I'm going to solder that in. I'm making it kind of dark in this corner for a minute. I apologize. I just remembered I had a forum member on the Amp Garage that has been really helping with some of the questions I have in general about doing the build, and somebody else had kind of questioned why I should do certain things a certain way, and they said that me doing this live is akin to a modern form of heroism. I don't know if I agree with that. I thought it was pretty funny. But I guess, all in all, you guys get to see... I think the most important part is you guys get to see me screwing up, like burning my finger, and learn from my experiences to hopefully avoid, repeating them. But also learn what works as well, because sometimes stuff does work really well. So, alright, I'm just trying to get this similarly wrapped around. So you can see that. Constant wires in the way. Alright, so you can see that's wrapped around. I'm going to also get some flux on that. Just wet that whole surface really well. And then we will start a soldering. And what I'm trying to do here is keep the solder on the opposite side of it so that I will know when the heat is transferred enough through to start melting the wire. And it's barely getting there. Alright, there we go. If you can watch and see, I'm kind of going the opposite side, but you can get starting to melt in. Oh, the solder's going right in my face. Come on, fan, pick it up. So we're now got enough heat that we can create an actual physical connection. I'm just trying to get so part of what I'm not seeing is that this aluminum wire doesn't seem to want to bond. See how that's bubbling? That's a sign that the aluminum wire is not getting hot enough to create a bond. And I will keep heating this until I see that happening. But it should start flowing in after a bit, instead of just sitting there in a blob. Maybe I need more direct heat on the wire itself. Alright, there. Now you can see it's actually going and wrapping into the aluminum somewhat and staying on it. So that's a sign that it's at least in some... Oh, there it went. Now it just flowed. Oh, no, it didn't. It actually bubbled. It's not playing nice at all. What my ideal situation here is you will see if I can get this to heat up enough, it will transfer that bubble down into the actual thing. But I might need to let it cool and reapply some stuff because it's not seeming to want to flow on the... See, I'm basically getting a big blob off instead. Because like this one, you can see it actually wrapped around, but this side, it's just fighting me like crazy. I need to get... Now I'm seeing that there's a decent amount of the solder that connected there, so what is going on is that I might have built up a little too much junk in the joint, so we're going to try steaming a little bit. Put a bit more solder flux in there. Clean my tip. Oddly enough, it almost seems like the copper is now what doesn't want to bond to it, but that copper is brand new, clean copper. See that? So this is kind of being weird. I've not seen this before. The copper itself is like refusing to bond to the solder. This is one of those areas where it might just be that because this is such a thick bus bar, I'm not getting an amazing amount of, it's just sinking too much heat into the metal and not the joint area itself. Oh, crap. I just put blobs of solder over here that I don't want. Fun with soldering. So, this is definitely one of those areas that I'm not sure why this is being so problematic. Normally, as you saw in this one, it just kind of flowed into the joint really well. This time, for some reason, the copper itself is brand new, is still refusing to bond. So I'm fighting a battle with this, and I do apologize that it's taken so long. But I've definitely had this problem before with some other joints, and the problem is if you don't get it good and clean and tight, it will not provide the grounding function that's supposed to be doing. Oh, I just saw it flow somewhere really well. It's about to fall off again though. So I'm getting some bonding on the bus wire, but not... Oh. Well, ladies and germs, I am really annoyed with this being such a pain in my butt. It does seem like it tried to just create a bond there for a second, but it's not. I think it's bonded a little. I can see it in underneath, right inside of here, but not to my personal satisfaction. Because I see the rest of it seems like it's got black goop built into it. This normally when you put solder down into these kind of braided wires, they just absorb it right in once you get into the right temperature. And see, I'm right on the braided wire, and it's not going anywhere. Is it dissipating in? I might just have built up enough of the crappy stuff on the top layer. See, it's just still bubbling right there. So what I might do is leave it alone for now. I'll have to come back and I will scour that thing and just really wet it down with something like flux and clean it out. Because it's connected, I'm sure. Like if I was to do continuity, it's going to say it's got continuity, but I don't believe with any level of confidence that that won't come loose after a year of vibration or something like that, and then we have less quality shielding at that point. So I'm going to connect to ground. So it says it's getting continuity there. It's connected and it's soldered, but I don't like the way that looks. So we'll come back to that. But at any rate, that is done. Thank you for coming along on that ride of pain. So let's see. Next. So we now have the next guy on this line is this one. Let me look. Let me kind of adjust this back down a little bit, because I just noticed the grounding bus for a different area, which is where... Oh no, that's fine. Never mind, that's the cathode ones. That was confusing for me. It was this one here, but this is coming up and connects to the cathode of one of these, so that's fine. So the next one is the one on this side, and it looks like, to me, honestly, that one connects from this 1 microfarad off to this connection of the filtering. If I'm looking at that. So let's look at the schematic really quickly. And double check that tantalum cap goes to, oops. Where's my filtering? Right here. So these two 10 microfarads connect to B plus 4. Let's scroll back up and look at B plus 4. Oops, B plus 4 right there. There's 100K that also connects to 0.1. And that one I think is the tantalum one. Trying to think that one through though. Let's go back to the... Oh wait, there's a 390 ohm somewhere that connects to that. Where's the 390 ohm? I might be looking in the wrong spot. Is there another B plus 4? Because that's the anodes of the... Alright, let's go back to that really quickly. Oh no, actually, this... I don't know, that has a... The purple line output of that guy comes to the presence. So there's a 0.1 cap through presence. Let's look at the presence circuit. That's what I'm needing to look at. So the presence circuit is down here. Okay, so the tantalum goes between the presence. I need to connect that to the presence pot. And then the other side that goes to the 390R, which we saw on this guy here. I do need to adjust the camera, it looks like, back so you can see where I'm looking at here, guys. Sorry. We're looking right about dead center now, right here. For this tantalum cap, one is this 390 resistor right there. But I'm almost looking now, I think I might not need that other connection if I'm looking at that correctly. Because the one side of the tantalum connects to the 390R, which is this one here. Let's double check that's the 390R. Put us on resistance mode. Doing measurements can be your friend. We're going to measure. Yep, that's 390. So, that's my 390R. So if we look at in the schematic, you can see, I'll zoom into the circuit a little bit more. It's this presence part right here. Right there. So the presence pot has on either side of 390R. So I think I've got my wires connected wrong because it's saying I need to have a connection from one side of the 390R to the top of the presence. The other one connects to the tantalum cap and then over. So I'm thinking, really, this is wrong. This one goes over here, if I'm looking at that. Because the output of the tantalum cap goes to the wiper of the presence pot. And guess what? The presence pot is so far away, I'm out of room. So I'm going to have to desolder a couple things here. This one doesn't belong here and goes up in here. And then I will have to run a much longer wire across. So let's go ahead and fix that. What fun. So this doesn't even need to be here, so we'll remove it. Oh, and of course the tantalum cap has to pop out when I do that. So I get to try and put it back in carefully. Okay, that's back in, but I do not like the quality of that solder joint, so we're going to also just touch it lightly. Oh, the tip's all kinds of ugly from fighting that other grounded connection. There we go, we've reflowed that nice. It looks shiny. Alright. This has to come out because it is too short. Of course, the tantalum cap has to pop out of that side as well. What I'll do with this, though, is I'm going to clean this whole one out because I have to put a new wire in and the tantalum cap back in. And then I'm guessing we're getting close to the hour. This might be the last thing that I try and sort out for this today. Perfect. And then I'm going to also clean out this one because this one is the one, as I mentioned, it's supposed to be the other side of that connection. I put my wires in the wrong place. So we'll look at the layout as well and see what maybe I missed there. The part of the problem is getting this completely cleaned out. Might require some solder wick because it's not really coming out much more than that. Alright, let's try a little solder wick. Doesn't want to pull anything. Maybe there's not much left there for the solder wick to pick up. Alright, so now I need to run a much longer run for both of these. So the first one we're going to do is going to go from this one to this one over here. So now there should work. Adapt and modify, as they say. Alright. So I will first, this one, let's see, the tantalum cap goes to the center of the presence pot. And boy, oh boy, is that going to be impossible for me to see and solder. I have to stand over the top, but I'm not going to really worry about you guys seeing it either because it's clear over. Got gunk all over that too. Hopefully this is being entertaining or educational or both. Oh my gosh. I think that connected just fine. Since I can't see very well, I'll just actually, I'm going to get a flashlight out and just get a shot from this side so I can see better. No, it did not. It buckled up a bit on the one side and flow. So I will come back in and touch it. There we go. Much better. See? Always double check. Never hurts. Then I'm going to let that harden. Meanwhile, I'm going to get myself another line run. Goes from here to that same rough area. We'll make that one. That one goes to the top of the presence pot. Similarly, I'm going to be mostly blind in this guy. Get my pliers and pinch that down a little. The other one was easier for me to do, but for some reason this one's fighting me, so. Alright, now we'll solder that guy. And that one went in much better. Alright, so let's go ahead to the center of the presence pot. Will come. Where does the center go? Wiper connects to the 0.01, so it's right here. I'm going to go ahead and give myself plenty of room within one and just those guys in there. Okay. So after I finish this guys up, we will have basically finished everything on this side of the board except the 2 load of the power section, but I will do that next time around instead of this time. Alright, I'm going to do a quick continuity test to make sure that looks good by connecting to the wiper all the way through to this lead. And I got beats, so we have continuity and it's solid. Alright, so we will make that a little prettier later. We'll just tuck it out of the way. So this guy now comes down this same general path. I was told before that battling these coaxial cables can be challenging. That is definitely the understatement of the century. Alright, so now, again, I will give a very short amount of this lead. Bend it down. I will try to get to go in here somewhere. Alright, where's my tooth pliers? Where did I set those? Can't find them. Oh, come on. Oh, there. Today has been a challenging day. I appreciate you hanging around with me and fighting the battle. It refuses to go into this hole because even though I've tried to remove as much solder as I can, I still haven't removed enough to make a clear hole. I guess I'm going to get a whole bunch of solder on the tip here. I may actually call this quits for you guys, because you don't need to watch me battling this per se. It's not that exciting, I don't think. But effectively, this solder joint, I need it cleaned out so that I can get this lead through. It's not working for me very well. Nope, it's just not going to happen. Alright, so I got to think creatively. Well, at this point, there's need to... The splatter of goop at the bottom. Oh, so are you talking about this down here? This is where the old fender had grounding stuff bonded to the chassis. Sorry. That's something that I can probably... I could possibly clean up at some point, but it's not going to be easy. I'm going to actually reflow the joint completely, and then I'm just going to try filling it with solder instead, so that it's got a nice thick solder connection. And I will have to attempt to really get this connected by winding it around a lead, because I just do not have the leisure of a quality soldered connection that I can get in that hole. It's so full of stuff. If I'd have done it right from the beginning, I probably would have been fine. But now that I'm coming back after the fact, I don't want to pull every single lead out. So I'm just going to kind of play some catch up by wrapping this wire around a lead tightly and then flowing solder around it. That's the best I can do it for, I think. So it's connected directly to the lead of that 390 ohm resistor and bent around in a nice hook. And I will wet the joint very well. Alright, that wet, I did let it warm a little bit too. Perfect. Oh, it's bubbling a bit. There we go. Now we're in business. So now the presence pot is wired. I did this wire. What is this to? Let me look at that really quickly. And we will see that one. 02 is the green wire here. And it looks like it connects. What? Oops. 02 green wire. That seems odd because it seems to just stop here. Because that is actually the power that comes over the foot switching stuff. So I have to kind of quickly look. It looks like this is missing. What does this 0.2 microfarad capacitor coming off of the grounding point of phase inverter connect to? It connects to, it's this line right here. Oh, this goes to the chassis return jack. So that is going to end up going over there. Alright, so that's fine. Well, we'll not worry about that for now. So we have left is these two on this side are the, those connect to, actually, this. Those two at this top end, as you can see, curl around, come down, and connect into side A and side B of the output transformer. So that is this wire and this wire. Let's turn you back that way you can see it. That is this wire. Oh, let's see. Sorry. That is this wire and this wire. So my thoughts basically become, I have enough lead in theory to connect that guy, but I think also it's probably just going to make more sense to me in these, for both of these, to connect them kind of up to here, and just I'm thinking that through. Do I really want to desolder this guy? It actually feels pretty crummy in that connection, so maybe I will, because I have length enough to do that guy. But this guy comes all the way over to there. Well, I do have a length. Alright, well, don't worry about that. I'm going to try and think that one through and not do it on the video here, because I want to kind of make sure I'm running that well. But yeah, I know you're teasing me. Alright, so thanks everybody for joining today. We've gone a little bit past my normal hour, but we did get one whole half of the board wired up. Let's go back and look at that really quickly for a minute. Sorry, I'm just going to fight in that. Alright. So as you can see, we've finished wiring up everything in here except these last two. Our next video will be finishing those two. We're going to be running, another thing I found was a silly thing I did is this power connection actually shows two coming in and out of it. One of them is going to come from this side over to it. The other one, this one, goes over to this end. So I have to figure out a way, since I only have one connection in here, I might bring two wires into a connecting point there and make kind of a T, so that they, and then I'll kind of shrink wrap around them so that we get that connection done correctly. Because the filtration that comes off of here connects into this point, the anodes of these two, and then the other end of it comes over and hits this and does the filtering that comes into this preamp stage as well. So, all right, there you have it, guys. Thank you so much for coming along, watching, and I appreciate the viewership. I would highly recommend that you guys subscribe. Make sure you also hit that little bell icon when you subscribe so that you get notifications, so you'll see this. I am at my max zoom, sorry. The zoom lens, I have to choose right now. I have either a very wide angle lens, which I cannot adjust the zoom, or this one where I can kind of zoom in when I'm doing some stuff. So you and I can talk about that offline maybe, Angela. But at any rate, thank you very much for joining. Please do let me get feedback in the channel about the things that I need to work on as well. This build, I'm going to be excited when it's done, because it's really becoming a very challenging thing for some of this stuff, and I'm learning a lot, but I'm also having a lot of difficulties, as you saw today. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a great day. Cheers.